Started about 4 years ago. I was actually working in the project management office, and Todd Holden was also working there. And Todd's the kind of guy that is reading constantly, and so he eventually read a book about Scrum, started talking to me about it, and I remember specifically that he said to me that he had read about something that he thought described the way that I worked naturally, and I remember this line. He said, "I think that you're doing about 80% of this naturally, and you don't have the discipline to do the other 20%. And so you ought to study the Scrum thing, because it would actually force you to think about that last bit, and I think that'll increase your impact." So I took that challenge and I started thinking about it, got very interested. The ultimate upshot was that Todd went and got certified as a Scrum Master. I got certified as a product owner. That's how I found the Alliance. And then we did a project basically just to learn.
So one of the first things that I did is I had to focus on like the vision of where I want to go and what I want to build and what was my driving principle. My driving principle had been, I'd worked in IT for 15, 20 years. And I'd been on a lot of waterfall projects, and they all started out the same. Everybody was energized, excited, ready to conquer the world, build this new software, and then at the end it was a train wreck, and people were demoralized and just hated their jobs at that point. And I saw this cycle over and over and over, and I said, to do this, we're going to have to build a culture where these people feel like they're driving something and they're invested in it, and they're the pushing part of what we're doing. So that's what I started with. I defined where I wanted to go, and I adhered, almost strictly, probably staunchly, to the Scrum and Agile values. And that drove my hiring, it drove the way I structured my organization, the whole thing.
Several. The first is, and this is probably the one the senior team looks at the most, is that we just deliver software faster. That story, I delivered software in 2 weeks in our very first product, or excuse me, in 2 sprints in our very first product. And so it was in production 12 weeks after we started. At the time, I was working on a project that went on for 6 years before it delivered any code. So the difference was dramatic. That would be the first thing. The second is that because we were not just focused on speed, we were focused on understanding the business and delivering things that had value to the business. The result of that was that we ended up with a seat at the table. That the senior team never really paid attention to IT. IT was just the people who delivered computers. And so I'm the first chief information officer to move the job from merely delivering technology into being a part of the strategic planning of the organization. So that's been key. We have 5 product owners. Those product owners came from the business, and they really drive the strategy of everything we're doing in IT. So that's been the big one. The other, culturally, is that the organization is just much happier. We've gone from a place where literally people were just sitting in their cube counting the days until they retired, to a place where people are enjoying themselves and they're doing good work and they're growing, and it's fun. It's a really good time. We got the opportunity to completely redo the organization, top to bottom. Everybody had to apply for a job, starting with me. And so we've ended up really with a new crew, and people who didn't want to be a part of it are no longer there. And not because we got rid of them, but because they chose to leave. On day one, I started asking people to think about what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I said, I'm going to tell you explicitly what I want to be. And if you want to be a part of that, then we've got a seat for you. And if you want to be something else, then you should go somewhere where they're doing that. And a whole lot of people did. So we've ended up with a crew that loves it.
Starting with culture, it makes it difficult because I've probably interviewed 3 times as many people as I've hired, because I'm very meticulous about how we hire, who we hire, how do they fit into the environment, are they actually driving that vision. I can put developers in the seats, but it's not going to get us where we want to go. So having that clear vision of where you want to go, I think, is really important. It's almost like, you know, they're working with their friends. There's a lot of joy, there's a lot of humor, like we have crafted our values, and they're focused around diversity, and they're focused around working as a team, and they're focused around the power of humor that we have. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We realize we're state government, and I probably more than anybody know kind of the bureaucracy, but my teams always keep me on my toes, and they're pushing for more and more and more because they've become this force that owns the work they do. And just turning them loose with that creative energy is just amazing. And so I continually remind my staff, you know, we're putting a dent in the state government system.